After 110 hours, I finally beat Fire Emblem Engage, and I have a lot to say about it. As a mega fan of the franchise, this game hit on so many levels for me that other Fire Emblem games just couldn't do, considering the source material, all the main heroes from previous Fire Emblem games, was baked into the core gameplay and story and the mechanics of Fire Emblem Engage. Now, first off, I want to say this review won't have any major video or spoken spoilers. I stopped recording my own gameplay footage after chapter 10 or so don't worry about being spoiled on anything with the game. I also want to add in, while I haven't played the online multiplayer too much, it's freaking incredible and adds nearly infinite replay value to this game, which we'll talk a bit about later. Now, I won't bore you with too many story details, but I do want to address the elephant in the room with this game and its story and characters. No, it's nowhere near as bad as some reviewers and fans tried to paint it as. I will admit there are some bad lines here and there, but overall the story and characters are great, and the more you get to know them, the more you're actually going to end up probably liking them quite a bit. Now, you play as Aleer, a divine dragon that has just woken up after 1,000 years of slumber with a brutal war against the evil Fell Dragon. In the war, the Fell Dragon was slain by the combined power of the emblems and those who fought alongside them. These emblems are the heroes of the previous Fire Emblem games. Their power is now entrusted to rings, which only the divine dragon can call forth. As you wake up, demented beings called the Corrupted attack out of nowhere. You're thrusted into the action right away and end up leading an assortment of warriors on a battle to save the world of Helios. And once again, without going into too much details here, your mother was killed, the rings were stolen, and you have to go out there and get them back. Story-wise, things start a bit slow, but by chapter 10, the pace picks up quite nicely, and the twists and turns really start to hit hard. By the time that the credits roll, I couldn't help but have a huge grin on my face from all the cool little nods to previous Fire Emblem games. If you're a fan of the franchise, you'll be happy to know that there are all sorts of cool ties to the previous titles outside of just using the characters as emblems. It was just amazing, and that's all I'll say for the fear of spoilers. Now, for someone who isn't into Fire Emblem, or you haven't played or know what happens in the previous games, some of the commentary could not hit as hard. I will admit that. I think a lot of this was lost when some played the game and didn't know the backstories of the Emblem characters. But even without knowing everything, there is still a cool story here with tons of turns and twists and roller coaster moments. Now, that might not be as dynamic as Fire Emblem Three Houses, but I'm happy I don't have to actually beat the game 3 to 4 times to see everything, and it's pretty much all wrapped up on one good playthrough. Now, from a graphics, presentation, and quality of life standpoint, this is by far the best Nintendo and Intelligent Systems has done for this franchise. Character models are sharp and vibrant, backgrounds and architecture is simplistic but have a clean look to it, and it's overall more pleasing by a long shot than Fire Emblem Three Houses, and easily tops the 240p Nintendo 3DS Fire Emblem games. I personally love the details on all the different class outfits that you can have in the game. It just looked awesome. The pre-rendered cutscenes were also a nice touch as well. There are definitely better looking games graphically on the Nintendo Switch, but Intelligent Systems definitely made a concerted effort to improve the visual presentation over what we've got in previous games, and it shows. Now, the music is absolutely god tier, and honestly, I don't have a single bad thing to say about it. From the opening song to the credits, my ears were treated to a serenade of incredible tunes. The music is dynamic and shifts as you phase in and out of battle, in addition to changing things up completely when the enemy has their turn. Remixed tracks from every single main Fire Emblem game are here, and the paralogue chapters where you go and fight against the emblem characters themselves in order to gain greater bonds and power blew me away. I loved how they set up scenarios where it looked like it was straight from the game that the character came from, and you had to overcome the odds just as they did from their game. And there was words of wisdom shared and reflection and thought. As a huge Fire Emblem fan, that really just took the music, combining it with the gameplay, and took things to another level when it comes to just being incredible for the Fire Emblem franchise, and pairing that with awesome Fire Emblem gameplay. But I know this, the music in the game is so good that I'm actually going to be listening to it and using it in my videos for years to come. Reminds me of the Fire Emblem Warriors remixes and how awesome those are. They're just such good tracks, and it really does keep the pace and help you be energized to play the game. Now, when it comes to the UI and quality of life features, this is where Fire Emblem Engage is not only great for newcomers, I think it sets a new standard for strategy RPGs overall. The text and organization of information is truly great here. Anytime you want to read up on what a stat does, or what a weapon does, effects, skills, armor, items, etc., it's all very easy, just with a press of a button and a few clicks away. The heads up UI whenever you're on a unit shows you exactly what you need to know, and you have access to all of their stats just by pressing and holding down one button. It's really nice here. I was actually blown away by how intuitive it was. And the overworld map, fast travel points, make it easy to track the next quest, side missions, and points of interest. That being said, it would have been nice to have the home base have no loading screens in between the arena, my room, and the ring chamber. It was great to partake in all the side content the home base of Somniel has, but loading screens breaking up some of the most used areas broke a little bit of the immersion and flow of the game, especially if you forgot to train up a unit before inheriting skills or using the ring chamber to make new rings. Now, when it comes to gameplay, this is the meat and potatoes of any Fire Emblem game. And I can say, without a doubt, Fire Emblem Engage is the best in the series with that. The classic weapon triangle is back and better than ever. Swords beat axes, axes beat lances, lances beat swords, while martial arts can beat out tombs, bows, and daggers. It's a brilliant system that works no matter how many decades old it is and no matter how many games it's being used in with Fire Emblem. And I would be wrong not to mention the incredible animations in this game. Half the time I was just in shock and awe about how cool and sleek the characters look with critical hits and even just regular animations. Before battle, I found myself meticulously planning out what characters I'll be using, swapping their starting place, what gear they use, and so much more. The strategy RPG mechanics has a phenomenal mix of magic, swords, lances, bows, daggers, and axes to use. Since I was playing on hard classic mode, you have to make every move count, as the enemy units are just relentless, often ganging up on your weakest units and strategizing in intelligent ways. The key to victory is using the new emblem mechanic by engaging, which I found to be stupidly fun. I honestly love the twist of the emblems, and engaging adds to the combat as you can access new moves and abilities while engaged. It adds a layer of strategy and depth to the game most other Fire Emblem games simply don't have. Critical hits, animations, and sound effects have the right amount of pop and satisfying crunch to it. The maps and locations are varied too. Each chapter throws something new at you as you learn the mechanics, acquire new emblem rings, and get better at planning your attacks on the corrupted and more. Slashing enemies with Mart's Lodestar Rush, planning the perfect defense with Ike, and warp teleporting with Celica just takes the combat to the next level, and the fact that you can equip any emblem ring on any character makes for an almost endless combination of strategy. Although some emblem characters are definitely better with certain characters, it's really more tied to the class of each character, which can be customized to your liking. The classes in this game are just sick too. I love the Wolf Knight, Thief, and Sniper classes outside of the Dragon class Alaire has. The magic classes are just incredible too, as you can rain destruction down on your enemies one by one. The more I played Fire Emblem Engage, the more I realized just how cool and fun the game is. It's the perfect combination of great game design, maps, combat upgrades, levels, and styles that just make it a blast to play. Each chapter felt different and had multiple ways of tackling it. Do you aggressively go after thieves trying to get the loot, or methodically prioritize the survival of your team? Which brings me to my next point, which varies based on how you play. Since I played on the hard mode and classic, once a unit dies, they are gone for good when you use the classic mode. You can use a time stone that allows you to reverse back turns, but it has a set amount of uses on hard or maddening difficulty levels. Run out and you have to live with that unit being gone, or simply retry the whole battle, which could take up a lot of time. The fear of permanently losing a unit is what makes Fire Emblem so good to me. It makes you play with a sense of urgency to get the best equipment you can, but also defensive to not lose a member of your team for the duration of the game. It honestly makes the game much better when you have that enabled, but it adds the pressure, but at the same time play with careful strategy. Each chapter felt like a delicate dance with death, as bosses can pursue, ambush, and take out your party members with ease if you allow it. Fire Emblem's classic mode is a unique experience that few developers are willing to add, as it can completely change how the game is perceived and played. But I'm happy that Intelligent Systems and Nintendo continue to make hard modes and classic modes in Fire Emblem games. Let's talk about the relationships in the game. Now, in previous Fire Emblem games, from Fire Emblem Awakening and up, had marriages and had more of a relationship factor with the supports. Now, the support is still there in the game. You can go all the way up to A support. If you went to S, the units could pair up and end up being married by the end of the game. Now, that has been removed for most of the characters, and it just goes to the A support. You'll get all the benefits in battle, so the relationship mechanics aren't completely wasted here. But once again, I'll be completely honest, I don't think I really miss it too much, because you're still getting all the battle benefits of the relationship aspects, and you still get the conversations between the units as well when you build support. Now, there is one such mechanic that pertains to relationships, but I won't spoil it for people who haven't got there yet, as it's a late game thing. Now, you can spend a bunch of time talking to your teammates, eating, working out, swimming, and doing various activities in the Somniel to improve your support and combat when on the battlefield. Now, upgrading, buying weapons and items has never been easier or better, with a streamlined system that puts all the shops right next to each other for easy access. You can even buy weapons and items in the battle start screen before missions, so if you forgot to do it in the Somniel, you can do it right there. Now, while I didn't touch on the multiplayer too much, this is by far the most replayable Fire Emblem game of all time because of it, even more than Fire Emblem Three Houses. I say this because the replay value in this game doesn't consist of going through the same campaign with variations multiple times, but playing increasingly difficult maps in the Tower of Trials modes. You can play against your friends' characters and maps, or play online in battles with your friends, and take difficult trials on your own, all while earning orbs you can use to upgrade your Engage weapons. Won't ruin the surprise, but there is a great incentive to beat the game first, then head into the multiplayer with the Tower of Trials. Either way, it offers content no other Fire Emblem game has even come close to offering this well done when it comes to extra modes. And I will say, even afterwards, there's some cool things that you can do when you go back onto the map, because there is grinding in this game. There is leveling up. You can access as much battles as you want in the different areas, and based on the investments that you've made into certain areas, you'll have different types of battles randomly pop up. Overall, Fire Emblem Engage was even better than I thought it was going to be, especially how the story started compared to how it finished. When I first streamed the game, I had people rushing to my chat to tell me how bad the story is and all this, and I think I can safely say I disagree. And those people probably didn't beat the full game since it was day one they were telling me this. I simply don't see how a fan of Fire Emblem could not be happy with everything here if you went the distance. The gameplay is superb, finely crafted, and fun. The graphics are a step up and look beautiful in motion. The music is simply incredible and has tons of classic remixes in addition to a host of new tracks. The quality of life features and UI are drastically improved over previous Fire Emblem games. Yes, not all the characters are interesting, and the story does have an overall bit of cheese to it, but if you take the time to level up your supports and finish the game, you'll see one of the best Fire Emblem games ever created, just like I did. Thank you so much for watching my review. If you want more content on Fire Emblem or other RPGs, check out my videos on the screen right here, or check out the link in the description below. We'll see you for the next one.